to that. South Africans watch porn because it makes them happy. Now, that's according to a study by Wits University researcher Yolo Koba. He interviewed over 20 people and conducted an online survey. Koba found that South Africans use porn to alleviate stress and enjoy intimacy with their partners. Now, if you feel that this conversation should not be one that your little ones should be listening to, you may want to move them to the other room. But you can stay behind so we can discuss this further with Sexologist Dr Eve, who joins us this morning. Dr Eve, thank you for your time and good morning to you. Now, is this the case with regards to the research? I mean, what have you found that's important to highlight about South Africa's consumption of porn?
Well, reading through the research, I'm not surprised by anything that was found. I think that one needs to really look in between the lines of what's being said and actually what's not being said. And the big question that you wanted to know is, how come South Africans are so high up on the list of watching porn? Well, one of the reasons why people watch porn, or many of the reasons that people watch porn that came out in this research, is because it makes them feel in charge and it makes them feel in control. So it's less about the sex than it is about the feelings that they get or what the purpose is of the porn in their lives. So one of the things that we look for in people who feel concerned around their porn viewing is there a possible underlying reason why they feel concerned around it? So just to put it into perspective, the majority of people who watch porn are just people who are just dipping in and out because it's there, because it's easy, it's accessible, and also because it's a very comfortable way to be exploring one's own sexuality. It's almost like a time to have your own private time to be with yourself and your own sexuality. However, if you look at the numbers of Pornhub and of this research that you have here, there are a few things that indicate to us that South Africans are watching more, and the reason they're watching more is because of 5 factors. I'm feeling mad, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling bored, I'm feeling hungry, I'm feeling lonely. Okay? So if you consider those are what we call the drivers to watch porn, drivers for people who find that they're extensively or spending too much time actually watching porn. One wants to look at what's really happening for this person, for these many people, and there are much more, the majority are men. So let's consider what and who South Africans are. South Africans are a traumatized society, right? All of us have had collective trauma, not just from COVID, but certainly from apartheid. And we have a history of collective trauma in this country. One of the things that trauma does to us is that it dysregulates us and it makes us feel very much out of our bodies, and a feeling of either symptoms of depression, of anxiety, of feeling that we're out of control, that we need to do something to be able to feel more in control and happier in our lives. In other words, we feel mad, which is angry. We feel bad, which is guilty. We feel sad. We feel lonely. We feel bored. And we feel physically hungry. So those needs are very, very much met by having access to porn. Because
so, Doctor, if I
porn
may
is
just interject there for a moment. I mean, then what leads to addiction, to a phase where one is dependent on the consumption of porn?
Yeah. Right. So one has to be very careful about that, because we don't like to use addiction. I don't like to work with an addiction model. What I look at is that there's something going on in this person's life that they are turning to porn. It could be that they're turning to alcohol or to recreational drugs or even to over-exercise or to overwork. It happens to be porn. And we make a big deal around porn because it happens to be associated with sexuality. And we're not really comfortable with sexuality, and also because sexuality and porn means masturbation, and people don't really like to think about their partners or themselves masturbating, or definitely not their children masturbating. So when it gets out of control, what we feel is out of control, where you feel completely dysregulated and you turn into porn, and it disrupts your lifestyle, it disrupts your day, it creates anxiety and distress in your daily life. It interrupts in the flow of your relationships. It interrupts in your sexual responses and your sexual interests. Then I would say, well, I'm kind of curious about this person and I wonder what's really going on for them. And it's not really about addiction. It's around behavior that is causing them real distress in all aspects of their lives, from their work life to their relational life, to their sexual life, to their family life. And that's, more interesting and more important to be able to look at and to manage than focusing just on an addiction model for porn, because porn isn't even seen as an addiction in the DSM-5, in our diagnostic statistical manual. It isn't about being a porn addict. We look at it as somebody who is really struggling in their lives, specifically because of trauma, and porn is the place they go to actually regulate themselves and to be able to feel more comfortable in their bodies.
That's an insightful way to look at it, Doc. And also I want to refer to the strap that we have on our TV screens right now, consumption rocketing on Fridays and Saturdays. Is there more time and day with which we're seeing the consumption of porn numbers and, views going up?
Yeah, so it's not only about there's more time. If you think about, time, it's something we all long for, but time can also feel very uncomfortable and very lonely and make you acutely aware of how unhappy I am and how actually I don't have anyone, or I have a relationship that's not really, making me happy, or not really functional, or not really as sexual as I would like it to be. So when partners are in bed or sleeping, or when I am alone and everybody else is so-called having a great time and I have this weekend ahead of me, that's when I feel mad, bad, sad, lonely, hungry, and I just need to have something that's going to help me to manage the feelings. And obviously, when one is orgasmic, whether it's with porn or alone or with a partner, the actual the physiological or neurochemical responses or releasing that happens feel good. I mean, you've got the releasing of dopamine, of serotonin, of wonderful feelings that bring you relaxation. So it regulates your nervous system. So you're going to keep going there to be able to get that feeling of regulation. But when, as I say, it becomes disruptive to your relationship, to your working, your familial relationships, then one has to really look at it and say, I need to take control of this.
Right. Well, I appreciate you, of course, speaking to us about this. Doc, I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for coming on to the show. Sexologist Dr Eve joining us this morning about a recent study conducted by Yolo Koba around South Africans' consumption of porn.